Okay, so what are methods? That is an easy way to explain this. Imagine you are watching television or you're doing, well, pretty much something else, and you want to change the channel. Okay, maybe you're watching a movie and that movie is boring and you want to change to anything else but this channel. So if you want to change the channel, you have to press a few buttons in your remote control to do that change. Okay, so imagine you are on channel 20 and you want to go to channel 42. So to do this, you press the numbers 4, 2, and after a few moments without you giving any input to your remote control, to your television, then the channel is going to be changed. So methods, they work like operations, they work like they are functions. Okay, so you want to change the channel in the television, so you're going to inform that to the television, and you're going to pass parameters. And in this case, change channel receives only one parameter, which is the number of the channel you want to go to. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. And everything we do in computers require the usage of methods. It requires the use of functions. Okay, it's more or less the same thing. So you need to do operations all the time, and that is even more important in games because they are an abstract experience. Okay, gaming is about fun, it's about action and reaction, it's about for example, you trying to follow a different route, and imagine this route contains a trap, or maybe it contains a different enemy. It is interesting for you to have the practice of playing games so you understand what is happening. Okay, so for instance, you need the key to open a door. So if you get the key and you go close to the door, then you can imagine, oh, okay, so this time the developers they say that if I get close to the door and I have the red key, then it's going to call a method that is going to open the door. So it's healthy to start thinking things like that. Okay, so let's start using methods in here. Right now we just have a few variables. Okay, we have size modifier, new name, and is rotated. So what do we need to do to start using these? Okay, there are two very interesting methods that already come with any script that we create here in Unity. Remember, we deleted them before. Okay, so we have a method called start. Okay, so let's start declaring it back here. And this is used for initialization. Okay, so what did I do here? First of all, this is the method declaration. Okay, the method name is start. We say that it's void, so it doesn't return anything. It contains no parameters, and whatever I put here is going to be the scope. Okay, so what did we do? Okay, about returning. Okay, so methods, they not only can be just a sequence of operations, but they can also return something. So for instance, you may want to create a method to add some numbers, or to subtract, or to multiply. These methods, they're going to return a value, and that can be stored in a variable. Okay, we can do a little test with this later. Okay, but if you don't want to return anything, if you just want to execute a few operations, then void is more than enough for you. We also have these parentheses here. So this can be used for declaring different parameters that can be passed to the method. Okay, so for instance, if we made a method to change the channel, we would have one parameter here, which is going to be a number that says the channel we want to move to. Okay, and finally we have these curly braces again. Okay, so we have curly braces for the class definition, and we have curly braces for the method definition. Okay, so basically whatever we put here is going to be executed once the start method is called. Okay, and for instance, let's say we want to print a message to our console. So we're going to use the most basic message in any programming language you can imagine. We're going to type here debug.log. We're going to open and close parentheses and then a semicolon to finish this statement, and between the parentheses we're going to add a string that is going to be hello world. Okay, so what did we do here? Debug is a class, okay, that it's defined in the Unity engine. Okay, and that's one of the reasons we have this include here, this using instruction here. When we use the dot operator, it means we're going to access something that is inside this debug class. Okay, and we are calling a log method. Okay, so this is how we call a method. Okay, we get its name, we go to whatever it is, in this case it's in the debug class, we type the name of the method, then we open and close parentheses, and if there are any parameters that we have to pass, they're going to be here. And in this case, we can just pass a string. Once we do this, we want to save the script, We go back to Unity and we're going to wait for the compilation to complete. And once it is done, and then you might ask yourself, okay, how do I call that start method? Okay, I understand that there's a log method that I can call by just typing in here, but where do things start? Okay, how do I call this method? And if you press the play button and you look at the console, you're going to see that you have the hello world message printed here. Okay, so the answer to the riddle is that the start method is the actual starting point. Okay, so if you want to initialize anything, if you want to perform any operations at the beginning of the life cycle of a component, you can just use this start method because Unity is going to internally call this. Okay, and well, that's pretty much the reason we use this start method here. Okay, it's used for initialization of things. Okay, now this is called only once. Okay, when we press the play button, we have this hello world printed here because it means this component is ready to be used. Okay, so the cube game object loaded, everything required to make this cube has been loaded, and now, well, we can start working with this cube script. Okay, and the other method, okay, so let's change this hello world to started. Okay, and the other method is the update method. So you can type here void update, open and close parentheses, and then open and close curly braces. Okay, so this is called once per frame. Okay, so what does this mean? When our game is running, and pretty much when any app is running, the smartphone where it is running, or the computer, is updating this app all the time. It's processing, it's doing millions and thousands of operations all the time. It's doing calculations, it's drawing pixels in the screen, it's sending messages over the internet. Things are happening all the time. And the update method is a thing that can help us a lot on making games, so we can update things pretty much live. So for example, if our game is very well developed, very well optimized, and it's running at 60 frames per second, it means that the update method is going to be called 60 times each second. Okay, so this is good for making things like checking for collisions and making movement, checking for input. So different than the start method, if we come here and type debug.log and we open and close parentheses to add the parameters here, and we add updating, okay, and remember to add a semicolon in the end. If we save this and go to Unity, after the compilation is completed, we're going to press the play button. Okay, pay close attention to the console. We press the play button, we have the start string that appeared here, and we have lots of updating messages appearing all the time. Okay, so it's printing all the time. Another way to have a better look at this is to just select this collapse property here, and you're going to see that, well, the messages that are identical, they are being grouped together. So so far in just a few seconds we've printed updating more than 800 times, almost a thousand times in here. Okay, so it's something that is going to help us on to achieving different things. Okay, so now that we have these methods, we have start and we have update. Let's start by using this start method. We want to put these variables to use. We want to use size modifier, and we want to use new name. Okay, so how do we change the size of the cube? We want to access a variable, and better yet, it's a property of the cube. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. In the start method, we're going to type transform.localScale. We're going to type an asterisk for the multiply sign and an equal sign, and then we're going to type size modifier and a semicolon. So what's happening here? When we type transform, it means that we are accessing the transform component of our cube game object. Okay, so we are here in the cube script and we're going to the transform component. Okay, and when we type dot, remember, just like we saw before, the dot here that we use for debug log, for example, is basically going to make us access something that belongs to the transform component. In this case, it is the local scale property. Okay, which is going to store, well, the scale of this cube, which right now is 1, 1, 1. So it's 1 in the horizontal, the vertical, and the depth axis, in all of these 3 dimensions. And when we type multiply equals, it means that we're going to get whatever is stored here, and we're going to make it 2.5 times bigger. Okay, that's why we use this size modifier here. So if you save the script, go to Unity and wait for this compilation to complete, we can just press the play button and notice that the cube is now much bigger than it was before. okay? And if you want to change that size anytime, you can just come here in the size modifier and, for example, use 0.1. So it's going to be 10% of whatever it was before. This time, if we press play, the cube is going to be very, very little. Okay, but imagine you want to change this size while the game is running. Okay, notice that if I change size modifier to 5, for example, nothing happens in this cube. Okay, so this is where the update method might come into play. Okay, we're going to cut this line that we added here in the start method. We're going to put here in the update method, and we're going to change a few things. So we have transform.localScale. Instead of multiplying, we're going to say that it's equal to vector3.1 multiplied by size modifier. So this time we're hard setting it to be the original vector, okay, so 1, 1, 1, multiplied by whatever we have here. So if we save this, go to Unity and wait for this compilation to complete, we can press the play button, and we have our cube set at 0.1. But if we click on this size modifier label and move to the right, notice that we're changing the size of the cube at runtime. Okay, the game is playing. If the editor is a bit darker and these buttons are blue, it means that the game is live right now. So you can change the size modifier to whatever we want, and you can see here that the scale is following correctly whatever number we have here in size modifier. Okay. So we can stop this and set as 2.5, which was the beginning one. And now, if we want to change the name of the cube, what do we need to do? Okay, it's going to be very similar. Right now we press play, but the cube is still named cube. But if we go to the start method, we can type transform.name equals to new name. Okay, that's pretty simple. It's the easiest of them. If we save this and wait for this compilation to be finished, we can once again press the play button and notice that cube has been renamed to QB42. Okay, so we have the string being applied. We can change the size in here. Alright, and remember I told you we can define a different method. Okay, we can start and update our things called by Unity, but what if we want to define a method of our own? So let's say we want to improve the name. We want to add a little to add some characters to our name. We can come here and type string, and then we can give our method whatever name we want. Okay, so it's not a very good practice to just type whatever name you want here. Okay, it's just to show you that you have the freedom to do whatever you want. But let's say we want to improve our name. Okay, so let's make a method that is called improve name. We open and close parentheses, and here we're going to add our parameter, which is going to be string original string, and then we open and close curly braces. So we declare a method that is called improve name. We say that it's going to return a string. Okay, it was void in the other ones because they were returning anything, but this time it's going to return a string, and the parameter is going to be only one. This parameter is an original string. This is the name that we use for it, that I decided it's going to be original string, and the type of that parameter is string. Okay, and notice that if you save the script and you go to Unity and wait for the compilation, the console is going to show you an error. So this is our first error. So basically it's saying here, hey, the file cube.cs located in the assets folder in the line 20 in the row 16 contains an error. Okay, so cube.improveName, not all code paths return a value. So we need to return a value, okay, in here. So to return something, we can just type return and then do the thing that we want to return. If we use return 10, for example, a number, and we save this and go back to Unity, notice that we have an error. So in line 21, we can convert int to string. This is very common when we are beginning, because the thing is, the type of the thing that needs to return here is of type string, but we're trying to return a number. But what we need to return here is another string. So this time, let's swap this to something like, let's add a double quote, then a dash, and we're going to open a bracket. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to append to this string. So I'm going to add a plus sign and put original string. Then we're going to add another plus sign. We type a double quote to make another string. I'm going to close a bracket, add a dash, and another double quote. Okay, so essentially what we're doing here is just a little styling to this string. Okay, I'm just getting the original one, adding some text before it, another text after it, and I'm going to return whatever I put here. And in the start method, I want to call this improve name method. So I'm just going to type here improve name, and I'm going to put new name as a parameter. Okay, now we save this, we go to Unity. Now we're going to wait for this compilation to complete, and after it is done and I press the play button, notice that the name of the cube is now QB42 with this little stylization that we added here. Okay, so that's a pretty simple example. We already made our own method, okay, that returns something. We changed the name of our game object, and we can even change the size at runtime for this cube. Okay, so we've learned some things in here. However, one thing that is still missing is we need to use this isRotated variable. Okay, so to learn how to do this, we need to understand how ifs work. Okay, we're going to understand how conditions they work in code. So let's do this in the next video.